Today we have Tom Dufour, CEO of the Big Sky franchise team. Tom, welcome to the call.
Thanks for having me, Lance.
Can you share a little bit about what brought you to working in franchising?
Sure. Well, part of it was just it happened to be my first job. Probably not unlike a lot of folks in franchising. For many, it's not something you necessarily think about doing. And when I first came into it, my really only exposure was through the E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. There was a section he talks about franchising and so on. So that was really my connection outside of being a customer of the local fast food place. And so I fell in love with the concept. I love entrepreneurship. So helping entrepreneurs support and grow other entrepreneurs. It was just a blend of all things that I loved all in one place.
hmm Well, for someone who's not familiar with Big Sky franchise team, can you give us the scoop on what all you do for people?
Sure. So a Big Sky franchise team, we help companies franchise their business. So in the franchise world, we're very early on with that franchisor. Where I consider us how visualize us. We're really in the threshold in between small business and franchisor. So we're helping bridge that gap or create the bridge for that small successful business owner that says we have something here. There's really an opportunity. How can we go and expand this? And as I always advise all of our prospective clients, most of which, by the way, never franchise, that if you have a business or you're thinking of expanding, you have to consider franchising. Now, whether you do or not is totally up to you, but it is a distribution model worth considering for just about any business.
Yeah, and if you're willing to give up a little control, you can other people will invest their dollars and manage the locations for you. So it's just a great win-win. It's a great
Yes.
team. Um, what makes Big Sky franchise team different from other people that help people franchise their business?
Yeah, I would say what makes us unique or different, first off, is our commitment to educating and content creation. So we produce weekly a podcast called Multiply Your Success, a weekly webinar series, or I should say near weekly. We do 3 to 5 of those a month, where we have specific educational content for franchisors to help them grow. And those are all available on our blog, website, YouTube, and so on. And so I would say that's one big differentiator. The second is that we're not, I would say we're not as high volume as other organizations. And part of it is for me that I just love doing this. I really like working with our clients. So I personally am involved with a lot of our projects and enjoy that aspect of it. And so that for me is something that having that personal touch as part of our experience. And then our 3-step process. And the first step of our proven 3-step process is called the franchise blueprint. And that's a trademark service of ours. And we actually offer that as a standalone. Really think of it as a feasibility study. So if someone says, I'm looking for a little more, maybe I've been thinking about franchising my business, but I don't know if I want to. I need some more information on that. Our franchise blueprint is a perfect starting point to help provide more than just maybe what they might think of as a quote sales pitch with a franchise consultant like me or someone else, where it really digs into numbers and details and specifics so that they can make a decision from a more informed perspective.
hmm Well, what are a few of the biggest kind of turnarounds or disasters you've helped companies through? Because some companies when they come to you, it's a train wreck and they need help, and you're able to make some tweaks, give them some guidance, and watch them turn it around. That's probably one of the most rewarding things. Can you share some of those?
Sure. Yeah. So I think one really exciting one is a brand I've been working with, and our firm's been working with for about 18 months, about a year and a half or so. And it's a brand called Wingers. This has been a really exciting brand. The founder and the owners of the business have a tremendous background in full service restaurant franchising, decades of experience, and then eventually started their own brand called Wingers, which is they do wings and have a full bar, and it's a great place. and they really focus on these, what I consider tertiary markets. So they're not going to be in the big city. They're going to be out in a town that's kind of in the middle of nowhere, oftentimes. But that's their market focus. They've and because of their operations background, their average unit volume is huge. I mean, it's for considering where these franchisees are located, it's very high in my opinion, and they're really committed to it. Now, what they did, here's where the problem was. The problem was they ran into some hiccups during the financial crisis in '08, '09, and decided to kind of pause and put things on hold for a little while with franchising. So their problem was they had about 20 or so franchisees in their network. And now, after almost 10 or so years of being dormant on franchising, they said, well, how do we get back into franchising? We've kind of been operators and training, supporting, everything's great at system wide. And they said, now we're ready to get back into franchising. So we came in and helped them build out a model and a plan for getting back into market, almost kind of like a startup again for them to revisit that and reboot it. And so that's what we've been helping them through to launch that. And I think it's a huge success for them. They were able in the first 12 months of working together to add 3 new franchisees into the system. And the progress is continuing to be structured down that same pathway, where it looks like this year is going to be a solid year for them as well. And kind of the slow growth that they are very happy with, and adding the right candidates or right franchisees in the right markets that work for their brand. So to me, it's one of our most recent, what I think is a huge success. And it's one that, you know, the numbers aren't electrifying, but for this franchisor, it's a big difference maker for them.
Hmm. Well, what are a few of the signs that you've seen when you work with businesses that they can like hear and maybe take action on if they identify that that might be them? What are some signs you see a business is struggling or is going to struggle when it comes to starting a franchise or ramping up their franchise?
Yeah. So first and foremost, and we'd spoken previously a little bit about this, is having a franchise sales process in place. And for most problem areas that I see, it's not the actual process that's the problem. It's that they don't have a process, or the process is not clearly identified and known by all members of their team and organization. So no, get that process down and be clear about it, be specific. And the second is a commitment to uh, franchise recruitment, just marketing and staying consistent with some kind of a marketing budget to bring steady stream of new prospects into the pipeline. The other is going to be on the training side. Same thing. I've seen this happen many times. Something simple, but one franchise sales team does a great job of taking a candidate through the process, and then they forget to do a handoff to the training and support team. And I've had where a franchisee called back 2 or 3 weeks later and said, "By the way, I haven't heard from anyone." And no one from the operations team reached out to that candidate or to that franchisee. I thought,
Oh,
boy,
wow.
that is horrible and should have never happened. And somewhere, so again, this comes down to a little bit of a process, little checkpoint to make sure that that doesn't happen to your brand. You really want to avoid that. And then that ongoing support to me is critical. And the number one complaint that I hear from franchisees, and I've been a multi-unit franchisee in the past, and some of the things that I have found, I think it all boils down to communication from franchisor to franchisee, and that the communication seems like it's a two-way street. First off, that there is communication. We want communication from the franchisor to the franchisee to communicate what's happening. Something even simple like a little newsletter once a month makes a big difference to those franchisees. So communication, and that communication can be two ways. Franchisees understand they're not going to get everything they want, but they do want to be heard. And so that's an important aspect to keeping what I think to keep satisfied and hopefully happy franchisees in your network. So those are a couple areas that I think could be helpful.
Well, what about things that you've seen that businesses that are really succeeding doing? Like, what are those businesses doing differently from the companies that are just not getting traction?
Yeah, first and foremost is a focus on franchisee unit economics,
Hmm.
and that reference to wingers in the past, in the previous question, is they've focused so much on the franchisee unit economics. How can they help their franchisee increase revenue, increase profitability, increase customer engagement and customer satisfaction? Really thinking about it from that standpoint and focusing on that. So the ones that I see do well, franchisors that do well, they're focused on that. Number one, and just that they have a franchisee focus in general. So I always describe that if as a franchisor, you're whenever you make a decision, if the first question you ask is how can my franchisee, how does this help my franchisee make more money or save money or help the franchisee out in some way, you're generally going to be okay. The problem becomes when the franchisor starts asking, the first question they ask themselves is, how does this help me or as the franchisor make more money or save more money? That generally it becomes problematic for the franchisees over time, especially after several of those decisions that happen in a row. So anyway, I think that being franchisee focused, truly not just saying it, but your actions to follow suit will make a big difference.
Oh, it's huge. When you talk about economics and they're just like, it's not, they don't want to focus on that. But I'm like, that's happy franchisees that are making money is huge. Focusing on your existing franchisees is what's going to pull in the new franchisees, and validation will, will reinforce that. If you're
Yes.
focused on your franchisees, you'll grow. Absolutely. If you're just trying to get them off your plate and focus on the next one, or like you've said, companies that have taken and grown too fast and not paused to focus on the franchisee and make sure they're all started and going good, and they're going to struggle because those people are going to lack support. They're going to lack what they need. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And it's hard when you're a franchisor and growing and you are all of a sudden you catch that lightning in a bottle and it's high growth. And I've had several clients that have had the self-awareness to hit the pause button and they waited to add new franchisees. Or if they signed up, they said, well, you can sign up, but your training will be delayed 6 months or 8 months or a year. So just know that is the case before you sign up or come on board. We're okay waiting because we want to make sure we can train and support you the right way.
Absolutely. Well, Tom, I appreciate having you on today. I learned a lot. Thank you so much. If you want to speak with Tom and have him help you with your business, you can go to franpro.co/big sky. All right. Thank you, Tom. Any last words?
No, just really appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity. And I would just say anyone who's tuning in that may have a potential referral or someone that might have a potential challenge going on, we offer free consultations. There's no cost for anything until we both agree it's time that we should be doing business together. So we'd encourage you to take advantage of that opportunity.
All right. Thank you.